Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the CCL Products India Limited Q4 FY21 earnings conference call hosted by Nirmal Bang Equities Private Limited. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then 0 on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Abhishek Navalgund from Nirmal Bang Equities. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you, Stanford. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of Nirmal Bang Institutional Equities, I welcome you all to 4Q FY21 earnings call of CCL Products India Limited. From the management side, we have with us Mr. Challa Srishant, Managing Director, Mr. KVLN Sarma, Chief Operating Officer, Mr. Praveen Jaipuriar, CEO of Continental Coffee, Mr. V. Lakshmi Narayanan, CFO, Mr. P.S. Rao, Consultant Company Secretary, and Ms. Sridevi Dasari, Company Secretary on the call today. So without further ado, I would like to hand over the call to Mr. Srishant for his opening comments, and then we'll open the floor for Q&A. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you for the introduction, Abhishek. I'd like to welcome everyone on the call to everyone to this call, and I hope everyone is keeping safe during these difficult times. As far as the company is concerned, despite COVID last year, we are pleased to declare the following results. The turnover for this whole year was, for the financial year 2020-21, was 1,245 crores as opposed to 1,143 crores of the previous year. The EBITDA was 301 crores as opposed to 290 crores from the previous year. The profit before tax is 234 crores as opposed to 225 crores from the previous year. The profit after tax is 182 crores as opposed to 165 crores from the previous year. For the current year, the guidance that we are giving is in the range of 10 to 15%, which is again going to be subject to a lot of variable factors, especially COVID, how things pan out going forward, how strict the lockdowns are, and these variable factors which are not in our control. But we will endeavor to do our best to achieve a growth trajectory like we've been doing in the previous years as well. We can open up the floor for questions.
Thank you very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may please press star, then 1 on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star, then 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. To ask a question, please press star, then 1. The first question is from the line of Jignesh Kamani from GMO & Company. Please go ahead.
Hi, Srishant and entire team. Congratulations for a good set of numbers. Srishant, just want to know on the container availability. Last quarter and third quarter, we mentioned that close to 50 to 60 crore worth of product we couldn't dispatch because of the container unavailability. So safe to assume that entire product got dispatched in the fourth quarter, and right now there's no issue on the container unavailability.
I think most of these questions Sharma will answer.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. As I told in the last call itself, we have found out, we optimized our business operations by utilizing incoming containers and all that. So you would see in this quarter, last quarter particularly, our dispatches were high. And if you see our financials, you will see that the old inventory has moved up. There is no accretion to the inventory. That means we were able to dispatch substantial quantities. But on a continuous basis, we will have some inventory for which the schedules may not have been there, and the pre-shipment samples must not have been approved and all that. But during March, we were able to substantially solve this issue and was able to dispatch major quantity.
Understood. And we had an accumulated arrear of close to 28 crore from the MEIA subsidiary. Anything we received in the fourth quarter, or still we haven't received anything?
In the fourth quarter, we did not receive anything.
Okay.
No, we did not receive anything.
Okay, understood. And my last question on the Russian demand has been pretty weak because of the COVID lockdown. How is the current scenario, particularly for the high margin freeze-dry coffee?
That has actually started recovering from last quarter itself. That's one of the reasons why there was an increase in sales and dispatches also. So the same thing is happening this year as well. A lot of things are coming back to normal over there. Now Russia also, they've taken a lot of proactive measures and all that over there. So things are significantly improving there.
Understood, sure. Thanks a lot. I will come in queue for the follow-up question.
Yeah.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Mayur Patel from IIFL Asset Management. Please go ahead.
Yes, results. Just one question. Overall, the performance was very good. But any reason behind the softness in Vietnam? And how do you see the recovery in Vietnam going forward?
Vietnam, we did optimum utilization during the current year, and will continue. In fact, we are enhancing the capacity there, so we are expecting a better performance in the coming years.
Also, on the margins front, do you think that Vietnam margins would improve going forward?
Vietnam margins will improve on various fronts. One is, of course, the superiority of the product itself. And then we are able to, because we are in the heart of coffee land, the working capital requirements vis-a-vis working capital costs, etc., finance costs will be lesser. And in fact, one other thing to be noted is that the original plant is also getting depreciated in 2-3 years. So the depreciation on account of the old plant might also come down. So there is a possibility for improvement of margins in Vietnam as such. Of course, we are right now we are doing some line balancing and augmenting the capacity. We are seeing a better traction, and we might be inclined to double the capacity very soon.
Sure, sir. Thanks. I'll join back to the queue.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rupin Shah from InCred Asset Management. Please go ahead.
Hi, Srishant. I have a couple of questions. First on gross margin. So we have shown sharp sequential improvement in last quarter and the YOY same. So is there any seasonality in 4Q that the company will record the higher gross margin in 4Q every time, or it's mainly because of the change in product mix towards the freeze-dried portion? And is it sustainable every quarter basis now?
You have answered yourself, I must say. During the last quarter, freeze-dried dispatches were substantially high, and it depends on the product mix. If I am selling most of the small packs and all that during the quarter, it might vary. So it is better we always take it on a YOY basis, because this cannot exactly replicate in the subsequent quarters. During last quarter, etc., since people, that being a season, People wanted a packed product which can go into supermarket directly. So maybe during summer season, they may not want the product in a packed form where they will purchase in bulk, where these gross margins, etc., will get changed. So on a YOY basis, there is a consistency and it is sustainable as well.
Okay, and Shishant, can you specify the contribution from freeze-dried currently in volume in 4Q and FY21?
FY21, we were able to operate our freeze-dried capacity only to the extent of about 62% or also 62% only, because of the compulsive lockdown that we went through, and then because of the Russian orders deferment and all that. This year there should be an improvement on that.
Okay. And secondly, on volume guidance, you have given 10 to 15% volume growth for FY22. So can we take like two scenarios, like keeping in mind like two scenarios? One is the same situation of logistic issue currently you are facing. So what kind of volume growth is possible considering the current situation? And if the second one is if there would like we will see some good improvement in the space and the lower freight rate benefits, then what could be the volume growth for FY22?
What was the second one that you mentioned?
Yeah, so in two scenarios, first is the same scenario like current.
One is on the logistics thing. Second one?
Yeah, so in second one, the improvement from here, like the space availability and the lower freight rates. So what kind of volume growth one can see for FY22?
See, we have taken the disruptions are there, and perhaps we must have made a small discount for these disruptions as well. Confidently, we can say it will be, as stated, 10% or so at present. So we will review at the end of first quarter or around second quarter, whereby the peak season commences. By that time, if there are no further disruptions and things ease out, maybe we will revise it to a better figure later.
Okay, understood. And lastly, Shishant, in this tough phase, like when you don't supply to your overseas client on a timely basis because of some system risk, and so what is your experience in terms of in terms of relationship with the client? Do they discontinue it completely, or for short term, like they arrange for somewhere else, or they simply wait for the things to normalize?
Last year, disruptions were worldwide. It's not very specific to India as such. So there was no alternative source for them also. In fact, in many cases, we have taken initiative to organize faster supplies wherever they are not able to manage containers or logistics from their end. We have managed and sent them. There were no major complaints from the customers because all of them knew that this has been the case. And perhaps second thing that we are doing, what we have been doing is that we have a warehouse in US and our own custom bonded warehouse in Switzerland, where there are some stocks. So there was no desperate situation that has come to any of our customers as such. Of course, the delays were there to the extent of reorder levels or minimum levels to be required, but there was no total out-of-shelf situation in any of our customers' places.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Himanshu Iyer from Yes Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Good afternoon, team, and congrats on a good set of numbers. So just wanted to understand the current quarter numbers, if you can give some more details as to what has happened in Vietnam, because if I do the calculations, the margins seem to have come off sharply from historical levels, while it's completely reversed in the India business. Margins seem to have made new all-time highs. I'm talking on an EBITDA basis. And even on the top line front, the momentum that we were seeing for the last couple of quarters, sequentially, it looks as though the utilizations have come off. So is it a one-off issue where some shipments are stuck out there, or is it something else? If you can just explain the Vietnam performance for this quarter.
Vietnam current year, we are speaking about the year that has passed, 2021. 2021, we are almost consistent in Vietnam. See, quarter to quarter, there may be a few variations here or there. One of the customers may have asked for a small reschedulement and all that. Otherwise, there is no major large variations in Vietnam.
Understood. And second thing, sir, the enhanced capacity, when is that now expected to come on stream? Because I believe there have been some delays in that.
Yeah, there are no travel facilities available, and even if one of our people, there is only one flight operating there, in which also only the diplomats and others have a preference. Business has a last preference in that. And even after going there, there is a 21-day quarantine. So for any technicians to go and work on the expansion part, it is taking, the person has to plan at least 1 month in advance. But still, we are almost at the stage of completion stage, and the facility should be most likely available from the first quarter end. July 1st onwards, it should be available for production.
Understood. And sir, for the year as a whole, can you give the broad capacity utilization numbers separately for India and Vietnam?
For the previous year?
Yeah, for the previous year, the whole year, FY21, yeah.
We have done about 61% on FD, and then Vietnam, we have done an optimum utilization of about 94-95%. Duggirala, there have been disruptions. No, we have done about 65% or 70% there. There is a large product mix within that, so we cannot exactly bring it to one single figure because of this enhanced small pack capacities and all that. But about 75% we could do it last year.
But the Chittoor plant, which was running at expected to optimize, that you have run at only 60-61 for the year, right?
No. I have taken the total FD capacity. Now we do not differentiate because it is a second unit for the main plant. We have considered the total FD capacity and do that.
So FD you did 61, and spray dried you did 70-75. That's what you're saying. Understood. And sir, final question, if you can just update us on the India business performance for both the quarter as well as the year in terms of the top line and the loss that we would have seen.
That because the figures are good, Praveen will explain better.
Sure.
Praveen? Praveen?
We touched a top line turnover of 150 crores, which is a substantial growth over last year, wherein we were close to 90 crores. So we almost witnessed around 60-65% growth on the top line. As far as the bottom line is concerned, we were almost breakeven with a little marginal loss this year because of higher input costs that the bean prices went up. So there was a very marginal loss this year, which was approximately say minus 5 crores and roundabout. So that's where we were.
And any outlook would you want to share, sir, or for this year for the India business, given we are seeing very strong traction?
Yeah, we did see a very strong traction, but currently the second wave has actually now that our bases are also reasonable, and the second wave has hit quite badly in terms of, and you must be reading all across. In fact, every sector and segment is more affected this year than last year. So we really don't know. We were looking at a growth of 30 to 40%, but probably if things normalize from July onwards, then still we can look at a 25-30% growth this year. But a lot will depend on how quickly things settle down, because everywhere we are seeing lockdown, which is hampering the logistics, and supply issues are there. And once again, our institutional segment, which started to pick up in the last quarter when slowly the hotels, the airlines, the offices had started opening, where we started doing a decent amount of business in the last quarter, has again gone back to shutdown mode, and the business has come down to almost zero there. So that's something to be worried about. But we're just hoping and praying that things settle down from quarter 2.
Sure. And just one final question, if I may squeeze in for Srishant, maybe. I mean, seeing the price trends that we are currently witnessing on coffee, so and given the 10 to 15% volume growth guidance we are giving, so finally, can we see a year when we can see, say, a much higher growth in revenue because of better realizations? Do we have that sort of visibility yet?
Actually, it's whatever is the price increase that we are seeing right now is mainly because of Brazil. And in Brazil, they're saying because of the water shortage and all that, the Arabica prices are going up. But if you look at it, in Brazil itself, the Robusta, there's an excellent crop. There is no shortage. There's a higher crop than what was there in the previous years. All the other countries which are growing Robusta, including Africa, Vietnam, Indonesia, the Robusta crop has been really good. And more than 90% of what we buy is Robusta. So there is not that much pressure on the Robusta prices for it to really go up. If Arabica is going up, Robusta may be moving as well. But then in differentials, there will be a change from positive differentials, you'll have negative differentials. Which is why, though there is a slight increase, we're not sure how sustainable that is in the long run. So we are still going on the assumption that the green coffee prices will be similar to what they were in the previous year. And as everyone's already aware, since anyway we work on a cost-plus basis, that impact is going to be quite minimal for us when it comes to margins and all that.
Understood. All right, team. That's it from my side, and all the best to you. Yes, thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, in order to ensure that the management is able to address questions from all participants in this conference call, please limit your questions to 2 per participant. For any further questions, you may come back for a follow-up. The next question is from the line of Rahul Ranade from Goldman Sachs Asset Management. Please go ahead.
Thanks for the opportunity, and congrats for a good set of results. Just if you can kind of remind me of our capacities existing. So is it right that India has around 25,000 of installed capacity and Vietnam has 10? Is that the number?
Yes, that's correct.
Currently.
Okay.
We are expanding in Vietnam now.
Okay. So currently it is 10, and then where would Vietnam capacity go to?
13,500 initially.
Yeah.
13,500. So 3,500 additional. All right. And within India, for the 25,000, it is 15 and 10 between spray dried and freeze dried, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And just one more question. So on the retail business, so India business top line, which you said was 150 crores. Out of that, how much would be the Continental brand of coffee, and how much of it would be institutional?
So almost two-thirds will be brand and one-third will be institution. So you can say 100 crores almost will be brands, and 50 crores will be bulk and institutions and private labels.
Okay. And would this proportion be similar for last year also, for 95 odd crores?
No, last year the brand saliency was lower. It was almost maybe 55% or so. So it has moved up to 66%. So we are constantly, the brand is growing much faster than the bulk and the private label business.
Understood. And just on our ability to maintain spreads, so like obviously you kind of mentioned just now that, since it is a cost plus kind of a model, but just wanted to understand in terms of, timing and lags, like how does the repricing happen? Because when the prices are moving so fast, could it kind of induce some volatility in the margins in the near term?
No, it depends on the contract to contract. So, customers' requirement of the product, and we discuss every contract individually. So, but that contract will be based on the prices existing as on that date or within that vicinity, basing on which will. Because as a business model itself, we cover green coffee on a back-to-back basis immediately on concluding the contract. This all customers also knows. So that price for that contract is valid until execution. There is no change on it. So if 1 week later the prices come down, the contracts that are made during that period will be based on the green coffee prices. Of course, it's a combination of green prices vis-a-vis material availability as well. Because many a time the quoted price there may not be stocks available. So we take both of them into consideration and quote that. So every contract is independent and is concluded basing on the then raw material prices.
Understood. And just one last question. So if you could kind of comment, ballpark kind of a geographical spread of our end markets, how much of it would be, somewhere in Europe versus Russia, some Africa, and I think US we are not very well penetrated, if my understanding is correct.
US, we are in fact for the past 2 years we are making an earnest effort to improve our presence in US. We were around 10% in US earlier, which in the near future we should be improving anywhere to approximately 15% or so. Generally, our solid existing percentage of sale would be about 25% in Europe, 25% in Russia and CIS markets, and then the others are spread over Africa and Asian countries and other places.
Understood. I'll follow back.
Excuse me, this is the operator. Mr. Rana, may we request you to come back in the queue?
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you. The next question is from the line of Jignesh Kamani from GMO and Company. Please go ahead.
Hi, Srishant. On the Vietnam, we are operating at optimum level, and even up to July, the capacity of 3,000 probably will be fully utilized in, say, 6 months or 9 months. So any plan to double the capacity expansion at Vietnam, because we already have all the infrastructure in place?
We are working on it actually. So maybe soon you will hear that we are doubling the capacity soon. We are also evaluating the visibility of order book for that. We already have something concrete that is coming up. So maybe we will start the expansion in Vietnam by about September or so.
And it will take around 1 year to complete, right? Once we initiate.
This may not take 1 year. Our supply time of equipment is one factor that is there during these COVID situations. Outer would be 1 year. Otherwise, we should be able to implement within 9 months' time.
Sure. And second thing on the small pack, how was the small pack volume growth rate in this year, and with considering capacity expansion, how was the small pack volume growth for the next year?
In fact, we were able to compensate some of the lower utilization of freeze-dried with our small packs. So the small packs, the packing plant erection was delayed because of this COVID situation and all that. But by that time, we have already procured the machinery for the packing plant. So we were able to put those into operation and enhanced our small pack capacity this year, because of which we were able to compensate the reduction in freeze drying turnover. Going ahead, already we have spread substantial visibility for our small packs in various markets. I do not wish to mention specifically, but various markets we have already created a visibility for small packs. So we are expecting for at least from the second this year, by around August, September, we will be on full scale small pack capacity, and we will utilize it for the peak season starting from October. Next year we should be doing optimum utilization on small pack capacity as well.
Understood. Thanks a lot. Thank you. The next question is from the line of Dhiral Shah from PhillipCapital. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir, and congratulations for the great set of numbers. Sir, if you can share the revenue and profit figure for Vietnam as well as Switzerland facility.
Come again? I could not hear. Lakshman garu, మీరు విన్నారా?
No, I didn't hear Andy.
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah, now.
Can you just repeat?
Sir, if you can share the revenue as well as profit figure for Vietnam as well as Switzerland facility for FY21.
Vietnam, I think we did about 375 crores turnover with a profit of around 85 crores or so.
85 crores.
And suppose Switzerland?
Switzerland, Switzerland, it is a trading house only, no? We did a turnover of 180 crores. I think the profit was about
7 crores.
7 crores, sorry.
Yeah.
87.
So this 180 crore includes a sale from India, right? So I wanted to know the value addition part.
So net to net, I think the value addition was about 20 crores.
25.
25 only?
Yeah.
25 crores, of which 7 crores is the profit.
Okay, and so what would be our ad spend target for current year for our domestic business?
Approximately 12.5 crores.
Okay, and how much parent company would be contributing?
This is what parent company has done.
Okay, and so for the overall business, sir?
Overall ad spend, is it?
Yes.
Somewhere around 15 to 20 crores.
Okay, and so what would be the capex for FY22?
FY22, as of now, whatever we are online, we will be concluding them. The packing plant will be concluded, and the line balancing of Vietnam will be concluded. Once we conclude our project costs and basing on the delivery schedules, if we are going for Vietnam plant, then that would be there. If at all we spend anything, it should be in the shape of advances and in initial amounts, which could be in the range of about 8 to 10 million this year.
Okay, and so lastly on the debt part, sir, we have seen the sharp rise in short-term debt.
This year, no?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there has been an increase. I mean, see, this is a twofold thing. We are a company where we cover our raw material, etc., on a back-to-back basis, irrespective of the delivery schedules of the product. So, if you have seen our inventory, particularly our green coffee inventory has gone up substantially because we have concluded the contracts for the next year. So we had to cover those. We had to cover those green coffees and not to get hit by any price fluctuations. So because we had to, if you have seen, our inventory levels have gone up. So to get those inventory levels, the additional borrowing on short term was taken.
Okay, and so any debt reduction plan for current year?
Anyway, there is a repayment schedule of approximately 84 lakhs. Repayment is scheduled this year. So it will come down as such.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. That's it from my side.
Yeah.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Akhil Parekh from Elara Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi, Srishant and team. Many congratulations on a good set of numbers. Just a question from my side. One is in the small pack. How much is the capacity right now, and how much we are expected to increase starting of first quarter of 22? And second is on the volume front, if you can guide in for the US market. That's all from my side. Thank you.
Capacity, last year, I think we have used about 5,500 tons small pack. The capacity that we are installing is for 12,000 tons. It will be available for full-scale production somewhere around third quarter, towards August, September of this year. So we should be utilizing almost the same capacity this year also. Year subsequent, it will be more. And the second is US guidance. Srishant,
Yeah, just on the way, small pack, you said from 5,500 ton will move to 12,000 tons, right?
No, 12,000 tons is the initial capacity being created.
Okay.
Current last year, we have done approximately 5,500 tons on small pack. And this year also, we should be doing more or less the same figure or a little more. The optimum utilization will come for next year. This year, we have to install those machines and all that is there. There will be some small disruption in small pack capacity this year.
Got it. And sir, on US front?
Yeah, as far as the US is concerned, we've been, as Mr. Sharma mentioned earlier, around 15% of our production is going to the US market. So we are consistently growing that volume. There are a lot of new initiatives that we are taking over there, and till now, US market has always been only a bulk market for us. Slowly, that is transitioning. Last year, we've actually introduced our cold brew coffee in the US. We're the only company in the world that can actually make this particular product. And that became a really big hit, and we got an order for almost 20 containers, which was fully executed in small packs to one of the large supermarket chains. Seeing that, we've actually started getting inquiries from different other parts of the world where they've seen these products in the US and they've asked us to introduce in their respective countries as well. Similarly, we are getting into more of small packs in the US market itself. We are having tie-ups with several organizations to start introducing small packs. So there's a change. This is a more long-term effort that we are looking at. Bulk is being extremely competitive, so that's one of the reasons why we are going more towards specific qualities and specific brands in this particular market. So all these efforts will keep giving us better dividends in the long run.
Sure. So just to tie up the thing, basically as we go ahead for next 2-3 years, we'll see a higher contribution from small pack, and which hopefully should help get us better realizations.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thanks a lot and best wishes for coming.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rohan Gupta from Edelweiss. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir. Good evening and many congratulations for this fantastic set of numbers. Sir, just one clarification first on both this very solid margins in India business and the weak performance of the subsidiary. If you can just once again elaborate a little bit more on that for the current quarter, sir.
Current quarter, the subsidiary business was in the normal course. Since we were focused on recouping whatever was lost in the first 2 quarters and all that, and as you know, we have been telling that the freeze-dried inventory has built up, and then we are having problems initially with suppliers reschedulements and subsequently with logistics. So we made an earnest effort and got this two things solved. And also during this year, particularly as I told you, towards the second half of the peak season, the customers would want to get the packed products so that they will not have time to get it repacked elsewhere. So we were doing a packed product also from here. Both these have contributed to higher gross margins. So vis-a-vis the other expenses, there will be an additional packing cost also. So if you deduct that, it will look normal only. So in respect of small packs, the turnover looks higher, and there will be an increase in packing costs also.
So you are saying that the small packing has been done more in the India market rather than in Switzerland, and that has led to
the entire small pack capacity is in India only. It is not there in Switzerland, it is not there in Vietnam. We are contemplating to establish small pack capacity in Vietnam in due course. But currently all the small packs are done from India only.
Okay. So this current trend which you have observed, that customers demanding in a ready packed and a small pack, so that is more to do with the current pandemic scenario, or it's more of that we have been able to take the higher share in the
seasonality also. See, he will not have time to get a bulk product, get it repacked elsewhere, and then get it to the supermarkets and all that. Instead, we supply the direct product in packed form, which can directly go into supermarkets. It will be better for him. So he would be rather willing to pay a little more price there because he will be avoiding an intermediary there. This may not be a case with the first quarter or second quarter, which are lean periods, where he would look for competitiveness and other things. So we have to take the overall thing on a YOY basis. But on last quarter, we will have this small advantage. You will know this is a spot prices kind of a thing. In the peak season, the spot prices will always be higher, no?
Okay. That's helpful. The second question is on the green coffee prices, which has been surging. You mentioned that it's Robusta prices more or less are likely to remain flat, and it's basically Arabica where one can expect the higher prices. So the inventory, sir, which you are right now you are sitting on a huge inventory of green coffee. So do you think that we are not going to see any sort of price-led growth in FY22 despite global green coffee prices are continuing to surge?
No, but if tomorrow I am concluding a contract, I will take tomorrow's price. Tomorrow's price is an inflated price. Obviously, it will go into the pricing. But our experience has been that when there is an inflationary trend in pricing, obviously customers would want to wait for a while to reduce the price and conclude the contract. Similarly, it also happens that during the times when the prices are in deflationary trend, they would want to conclude major contracts, but we will have to resist basing on the material availability at those prices. So these things will be going on a continuous basis, and in a period of over a period of 1 year, all this will get neutralized, more or less neutralized. Maybe at some point you might see a little increase or decrease in the turnover level.
No, sir, what I wanted that generally in our business, as you rightly mentioned, that
Mr. Gupta, we may request you to come back in the queue, please.
It was just only clarification on the same thing, if I may proceed.
Yes.
Okay, sir.
Sir, I was just saying that the green coffee prices, you said that you are sitting on a huge inventory now. Just as you also mentioned that as per your business model, you generally enjoy the per kg margin. So the green coffee inventory which you are sitting, I expect it is not on a speculation. It's basically driven by the increased order from the customer, right? So when your customer has already given you order, you are already sitting on a green coffee inventory. So even the green coffee prices have gone up. It will not get reflected in our revenues or the price-led growth.
So the green coffee that I have covered on, is in our physically available with us or available overseas is against the concluded contracts. So those contracts will have this green coffee price only. I will not have any additional advantage or disadvantage on the subsequent prices. No. The one thing that is an indicator is if I have a large stock of green coffee with me, that clearly indicates that for the next year my order book, confirmed order book is substantially better.
Exactly. Yeah. Correct.
So that is what we have to take into account.
Right, sir. Right. That's what I was just wanted to conclude. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I'll come back in you for any follow-up questions. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Amit Zade from Antique Stock Broking. Please go ahead.
Good evening, sir, and congrats on good set of numbers. But most of the questions are answered, but lastly, on this clarification of MEIS scheme, so sir, there is a replacement scheme called RODTEP. So any clarity on that scheme, sir? What could be the rates or any update on that side?
It continues, Lakshmanarayan, that the EOEs are not eligible.
No, you are not eligible, but about the new scheme, they yet to come out with the modality.
Yeah. Currently, we are the revised scheme is not applicable to EOEs and SEZs.
Okay.
And they have to come out. They just mentioned that, but they did not come out with the detailed modalities on that, so we are awaiting that. Having said that, we have an accumulated amount of about 27 or 28 crores towards the MEIS for the exports already made. We are expecting that substantial part of it can be realized during the current year.
Got it, sir. Got it. And one more question. Sir, our volume guidance of 10 to 12%, despite on a low base of FY21, wherein we lost almost first quarter and even second quarter FDC volumes, and on the back of new capacities coming in Vietnam from second quarter onwards. So, is that a conservative number, or you believe that the pressure on FDC products globally, because any trends emerging due to people consuming more of FDC products and instead of FDC? Any color on that side as well, sir?
Yeah, I understand. I agree that the base number is lower, the denominator is lower, but the conditions have not improved as of now. Suddenly, again, during this year also, this pandemic and lockdowns, etc. are running. So we do not know what is going to happen. So that is why initially on a minimum scale, if we recoup whatever FDC, etc., we have lost last year, that will account for that 10%, 8 to 10% that we have been telling right now. If things are proving better and business can be done much better, then we will revise the numbers. We will review and revise the numbers in September after second quarter.
Got it, sir. Because with easing of logistical concern and maybe lower customer deferrals, and I think we can do much better, is what I believe. Yeah. That's it from my side, sir. Thank you and good luck.
Good. Thanks.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Sameer Deshpande from Fairdeal Investments. Please go ahead.
Hello. Good afternoon. Congratulations for the very good numbers. Actually, I wanted to know regarding this MEIS, you mentioned that 28 crores are accrued and due. So have we accounted for that 28 crores in the current year's income?
No, right from the beginning, because this is a script given after realization has come, and then we get a script sanctioned from the DGFT and SEZ. Right from the beginning, we have taken a policy wherein we are accounting this on cash basis. only upon realization we are accounting this. We are not really, accounting them on accrual basis.
Okay. So
In that
that
context,
28 crore may be accounted for in the current year, that is 21-22, whenever it is received.
Exports have gone in current year and last year. I mean, last year and the last year before. But the MEIS has not been accounted on an accrual basis. MEIS, right from the beginning, we have been accounting only on cash basis, only upon realization of the scrip.
Yeah. So whenever it is received,
as you rightly said, it will be accounted during the current financial year.
Okay. And
It will be, we are expecting that we will realize, and then as a terminal benefit, if the scheme is getting abandoned, as a terminal basis, we will account for this.
Okay. And this new road tax scheme may not be applicable to the company, you mentioned, no, recently?
No, the modalities are yet to be announced by the Ministry of Commerce. We are awaiting for the guidelines about the new scheme and its applicability and the benefits that we derive out of it.
Achha. So it is not yet final also. Okay. And Europe was particularly Italy, Germany or France, all these were facing lockdowns. So the restaurants, etc. were closed for a long time. So with this reopening, do we see any better growth for Europe for us?
I think in fact, last year also we did not face a major drop down in our European exports, but definitely with life coming to normalcy, there would be a improvement in the growth.
Okay. And how much is the European contribution to our total sales?
Normally it will range between 22 to 25% in our total exposure.
Okay. Thank you and all the best.
Yeah. Thank you. The next question is from the line of Binoy Jariwala from Sunidhi Securities. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. The question is on the branded business in India. So I just wanted to understand what is the size of the market, what is our market share, and our distribution reach.
So the total instant coffee market is around 2,000 crores. And as I told you a little while ago, our branded business was almost 100 crores. So we are close to a 5% market share. There are pockets where we are doing better than the overall average, wherein we are more than 5%. And every geography we are witnessing, good growth in market share every quarter. So that's on the market size and market share for us.
Okay. And how about the distribution reach? And what would be the total distribution?
Yeah. So, we currently are directly reaching around 1 lakh outlets, 95,000 to be very precise. Of course, our distribution expansion did take a hit because first 6 months we could not do any distribution expansion. It's only in the the third quarter and the fourth quarter we started. And considering the kind of situation, it was difficult to do distribution expansion because, difficult to find the right set of distributors in this scenario. So that's the direct reach that we are having right now. We are looking to substantially upscale this and probably end the next year at around 1.5 lakh outlet reach.
Understood. So you said direct is about 95,000 outlets, but what would be the total reach?
Total reach, we don't get that detailed thing. And, right now we are a very new brand. So generally the indirect reach for new brands and brands which have just started their journey is not substantial. It's only at a later stage when the brands get started to, they started to get that pull from wholesale market that your indirect reach will go up. But if you were to ask me to put a finger on a number, it won't be more than 10 to 15,000 currently.
Understood. And how does? Sorry. Yeah.
Please go on.
No. Sorry. Please go.
No, I was saying that generally one would look at a 1:2 kind of a ratio for an indirect reach. especially for very small packs like sachets. But as I'm telling you, as we go along, as we pick along, the indirect reach will start going up as well.
Fair enough. So our reach of roughly about 1 lakh outlets.
Yeah.
The two large.
Excuse me, this is the operator. Mr. Jariwala, maybe
Sorry, I
request you
did.
to come back.
Your voice got cut in between, so I couldn't hear you. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, I'm saying our reach of about 95,000 outlets, how does that map against the two large players? Where would their reach be? And
their reach will be, direct reach will be anywhere between, 5 to 7 lakh outlets. Direct reach. And their indirect reach could be, beyond 10 lakh outlets, 10 to 12 lakh outlets maybe. Yeah.
Understood. I'll come back and review. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Jignesh Kamani from GMO and Company. Please go ahead.
Hi. The government recently announced a PLI scheme for the food. So is there anything for the coffee sector and in the PLI scheme, and are you exploring anything on PLI scheme?
So PLI is not applicable to us. We are not falling into the scheme. And we may, based on the announcements that have been made so far, we may likely to fall under the remission of duties and taxes scheme, but the scheme is yet to be finalized.
Okay. And on the Duggirala plant, we recently done upgradation. So anything, any beneficial in terms of production volume growth or the reducing the manufacturing cost?
No, it will improve of course, it will add to the margin anyway. It will improve the productivity, in fact, yield parameter and other things. It will not directly, it's not a value expansion, it's not a quantity expansion. There won't be any additional quantity that will come, but there will be a cost reduction and perhaps a little more yield.
It's a range in products also.
It's basically optimization.
Understood. Sure. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Manish Mahawar from Antique Stock Broking. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, sir. Just most of the question has been answered. Just two questions actually. One, in terms of FY22, you have given a volume guidance of 10 to 15%. So basically, your margins will be better off in FY22 versus FY21, because what I believe FY21 your export rate was gone up because of the US customer as well as Vietnam, and your freeze rate was lower because of the Russian demand. So it should improve in FY22, right, sir?
Yeah. Surely, if we are able to improve, last year freeze drying capacity was lower. So if we are able to improve that freeze drying capacity, margin profile will also go up. And also this year we are anyway adding small pack capacity, and if we are doing any incremental thing on that, it will also go up. So this is a continuous process of improving the margin along with the volume. So we address this on both counts. One is increasing the volume. Second, margin improvement in margins as well, which will contribute by way of additional freeze dried in the product mix, as also the small pack capacity.
Okay. And second question, in terms of the capex plan, you said whatever pending plans we have, which we execute in the next year, FY22. So what will be the cash outlay in the next year, FY22?
Balance ఎంత ఉంది వీటి మీద?
It is likely to, there is a balance capex, it is likely to be around 50 to 60 crores.
55 to 60 crores. And capital WIP, which is standing for around 148 crores, right? Which will be deployed.
Right.
Okay, understood. And last question, sir, if may, what is can it possible to share the volume growth for this year and the 4Q? I'm not asking for an absolute number, but volume growth.
So considering that the green coffee was more or less flat, around 10% was the volume growth.
For the overall, for the year.
Yes, for the whole year.
Okay. And for 4Q, any chance to share?
Pardon? For?
4Q, for the fourth quarter.
I will can't give the exact specific details, no? It will be again counterproductive for us.
Okay. No issue, Srikanth. All the best, and maybe I'll discuss with you on offline. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rahul Maheshwari from Ambit Asset Management. Please go ahead.
Good evening, sir. Hope I am audible. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah. So good evening. Hope all is well at your end. Sir, just two questions. First, as you mentioned that the inventory is high and there is a strong demand which has been booked for the next year also. So can you highlight that how many during the year, not by naming it, but in case any client which has been cancelled or is just a deferment that has taken place, and any thing which you want to share or highlight or color on any number of clients which has been added or which are in the pipeline which can be added going forward in next 2 to 3 years? Because once you had mentioned that it takes it's a long process to get a client onboarded because it's a long-end relationship which is there. So it would be very helpful to know us a qualitative statement on this part.
Srikanth, sir.
Yeah. So during the last 1 year, most of our customers, what we have seen is they're not looking at making any drastic changes. Nobody wants to take too much of a risk during this COVID times. They want to work with people whom they know or already have an existing track record with. So we're not seeing too many changes from customer side. And fortunately, in light of the fact that everyone has had 1 full year of experience with COVID, they're able to project a little better and give us the volumes as well. So we don't have any cancellations till now. There's no postponements that anyone has asked for. So hopefully things will improve going forward.
Sir, just to ask a follow-up on this, as you mentioned that there is a transition taking place from bulk to more small packs and value added. Can you give some kind of cross-sell that the existing client which is there from so many years, any rough range, how much is base products and how much is a value-added product, so that it helps us to know how the margin accretion journey is taking for CCL?
Sharma Garu, will you tell me?
In fact, last year was the first year in which we have initiated the small pack capacity on a larger scale. Most of the small packs currently we have marketed are our new customers. New customers in the sense customers who have been acquired for the past 4 to 5 years. Recently, we have received inquiries from our existing customers like Stars and other who are the long-term customers with us, evincing interest on the small packs as well. So the small packs actual customer base will only get evolved on a clear basis by next year, wherein we are expecting that we would be able to optimally utilize the thing. So for the current, we can say that we would be making an effort from going from around 6,000 tons of small pack capacity to 10,000 tons of small pack capacity in 1 to 2 years to come.
So, while supplying to the small packs to the existing client, the realization gains would be approximately at least more than 5%, or it's
Generally, the normal, it again is a complex thing because the SKUs range from 0.8 gram to 1 kg, 2 kg pouches, all varieties of packing and all that.
Right.
Generally, on a ballpark figure, you can take approximately $1.5 to $2 as the value addition.
Okay.
Sir, just last, may I ask, sir, if you don't mind, sir, please, question.
Go ahead.
Hello. Yeah, sir, as there would be an addition into the Vietnam capacity which would be soon getting commissioned in the July end. So structurally, in next 5 years, can we say that in every 2 years there can be a capacity expansion that would be taking place, irrespective of Vietnam and India, and apart from these two countries, any other country where Africa or something which is there in limelight? So just to get a sense that in periodic times, what is the ballpark number which you think that from 35,000 ton capacity you have a vision to expand to 55,000-60,000 capacity in a long period tenure? In any rough statement would be very helpful, sir. Not
Following this, I've been telling for the past 1 year, 1.5 years also, by around, so now we are in 21, around 24, we plan to reach about 50,000 tons sale capacity. Our production capacity would be slightly higher to that, say 55 or 60,000. And we wish to reach to anywhere between 130 to 135 rupees on the EBITDA margin. That is the goal on which we are working. How do we do it, whether in Vietnam or in India? Currently, we have an infrastructure both in Vietnam and in India.
Right.
If our spray dried requirement will go up, it will be in Vietnam. If a freeze dried requirement goes up, it will be in India. So we will be looking perhaps at the other locations after completing expansions in these two places. Yes, there are several plans on board which are being discussed. But on this business, this is the broad picture for the next 2-3 years.
Thank you so much, sir, and all the best wishes to the entire team.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rupin Shah from InCred Asset Management. Please go ahead.
I have a question for Praveen. For longer term perspective, 2 to 3 years, for India business, what kind of top line we are aiming, and any guidance on EBITDA margin, like one can expect for 2 to 3 years perspective, say FY24 or FY25?
Things have become a little fluid as of now, because a lot of things hang in balance how things would pan out. We did well this year and we achieved a top line of 150 crores. If things would have been normal, we would have expected current year definitely to touch 200 crores. But having seen the second wave of pandemic, things are a little dicey as of now. Going as far as long term, last time I had said that probably last year, so I said that 3 years we are looking at a 250 crores top line turnover, which looks we are pretty much on course for that. And this year we should be breaking even in terms of EBITDA. We had to break even last year itself, but we did had a little bit of adverse impact because of higher Indian coffee prices. But going forward, so this year we should look to break even. I cannot put a number for EBITDA for next 3 years, but definitely in 2 years' time we are looking to cross that milestone of 250 crores top line.
Very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Vivek Tulsian from Newmark Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, sir, thanks for the opportunity, and I think this question has been asked multiple times, but what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to subtract the standalone numbers from the console numbers to get to the subsidiary performance, and in that I think what we are seeing is the gross profit margin has come down and the overall EBITDA margin has also come down, and the growth is also much weaker than what it was in the first 9 months. So just wanted to understand what could be the reason behind this.
Lakshman Garu?
Yeah, you can say that because of the low volume of the FD sale, there is a slight reduction in the standalone performance.
No, I am talking about the subsidiary performance. So if you subtract the standalone performance from the console, you get to the subsidiary numbers. And in that, we are seeing that, first 9 months the business was growing well, which was the reason because our Vietnam facility was doing very well. And then suddenly in this quarter, we see that the growth is not very strong and the margins have also eroded substantially.
Shall we take the next question?
Sharma Garu, if you want to say something.
నేను నోటీస్ చేయలేదు యాక్చువల్లీ అది లాస్ట్ 3-4 months నా జరగలేదు.
No, basically what happens is in the first 9 months, because of the high volume of sales and all from the subsidiary companies, especially from Vietnam, you could notice the more high volume of the value and volume of the sale. In the fourth quarter, we could witness a good amount of sales from Indian operations. Because of that, you could witness that there is less sales from the subsidiary side and more sales from the standalone side.
Understood. And our other expenses have also almost doubled in the subsidiary. Is that because of the India business where our India business has grown well? So does that increase our other expenses and does that also impact the EBITDA margin?
Yeah, basically, you all witness that because of the high cost of the transportation, sea freight and all, we all witness that in the export market, the sea freight charges have gone up substantially. And also the second factor is that due to the packing material. These are all the two components which we increased in the fourth quarter expenditure.
Understood. And the packing material cost would be relevant for the Vietnam market also, or that is because of the India B2C business packing material cost?
Yeah, it is from the B2C business in India, not from the Vietnam.
Understood. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Lokesh Mani from Vallum Capital. Please go ahead.
Yes, good evening. Thank you. My question is for Srishant sir. If you can just, you've given a brief update on cold brew coffee in US. If you can just elaborate a little more in detail in terms of, this was also supposed to be a product where we could introduce in cafes. So any progress on that front?
Actually, yes. We've had some good progress for cafes also, especially cafes which are serving nitro cold brew. Mm-hmm. So for them, this product has been a huge saver. Earlier, the process I used to follow was to make the cold brew physically, and it used to take 16 hours, and the shelf life was very less. Right. So with this version, they're able to give even the nitro cold brew at a much more economical cost to the customers. Unfortunately, because most of the cafes across the world are still under lockdown, right, there hasn't been that much of a volume. This is something that you consume in a cafe, not something that you would want to take as a takeaway. Right, right. So that's one reason why it still hasn't, we still didn't get the volumes that we were expecting. But once things open up, they're hoping those volumes will start coming in. In the US, we've actually gotten people who've seen the product, who's tried the product, a couple of guys who've actually approached us asking us for exclusivity, saying that they'll give us at least 1,000-ton sale and all that. But we haven't accepted any of these offers because it means that we will be tied in with them and our margins will be limited substantially. So we thought it doesn't matter, let us grow slowly, but we'll grow steadily. We have the ability to approach all the things in the US with this product because it's a very neutral product, and because we're the only ones who have it, we can easily showcase that convenience and take things forward.
So you would be approaching the big chains as well?
Yeah, we're actually already supplying to the big chains through some resellers, our customers, people who, like our customers in the US, they are confectionery companies, liquid companies. They buy the powder from us and they supply from McDonald's, Wendy's, you name it. All the major chains, they buy from these guys. So they keep developing new blends and products for these chains all the time.
Okay.
So this is one project that we are undertaking as well to institute over there. Earlier they were buying mainly in liquid format. Now we are trying to convince them to buy in solid format itself.
Okay. And any timeline in mind, sir, where you would see this really scale up or pick up from the response that you're seeing, or your experience with new product acceptance, you know?
A new product, the volume increase will take place gradually. It's not going to happen overnight because it's a new product. Everyone wants to see what the other guy is doing.
Right.
And if the other guy is successful, then they also want to incorporate at their end. So this whole process will take time. Like once we started in the US, we've got inquiries from UK, Taiwan, Korea, Japan, and China saying that they want the exact same product, in fact.
Okay.
So it's not that we even tried to market. We didn't even think that these other markets actually would accept a cold brew. Okay. But a lot of these countries, they try to ape what the US is doing. So they've started floating inquiries for us, and now we started sending samples across to all of them as well. But the real volumes we'll start seeing only when the institutional segment really opens up and Costco now starts operating normally.
Okay. Understood. Thank you so much, sir. That's it from my end.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Anuj Jain from Value Quest Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi, thanks for the opportunity. I have like couple of small bookkeeping queries. Are we capitalizing any of the interest expense?
This year, whatever some of the equipment we have put to use, wherein almost around 1.75 crores of the interest we have capitalized this year.
Okay. Understood. And what is our cost of borrowing in India and in Vietnam? Hello? Am I audible?
Yes, you are, sir.
Yes. Hello, can you just repeat the question?
Sure. I was asking what is the cost of borrowing in India and Vietnam for us?
Hello? Sorry, the line got disconnected. Now I connected now.
Sure. Am I audible now?
Now, yeah, you are audible. Yeah, and your question, the cost of funds in Vietnam, it is at 1.2%. And in India is 1.5% working capital cost of funds.
Okay, understood. Okay. Thanks. That's it. Thank you and all the best.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Shobit, an individual investor. Please go ahead. Shobit, your line is unmuted. Please go ahead with the question. Shobit, an investor, your line is unmuted. Please go ahead with the question. As there's no response, we take the next question from the line of Romit Nagpal, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Hi, good evening. Just a couple of questions. Channel checks seem to indicate that you reduced a lot of your discounts, promotions, at least on the online platform. Would that have contributed to the lower losses in the domestic business? And do you see sales sustaining given that we've reached mid-May?
Yes, in fact, in most of our calls, we have mentioned that while we started with higher discounts to attract consumers and increase our trials, as we go along, when the brand building happens, we'll slowly start reducing the offers and discounts. And we haven't seen any sales drop, which primarily speaks for two things. One is the affinity towards the brand is good with the consumers, and they have liked the product. So going forward also, we look forward to keep reducing the discounts and offers, and we don't see there should be any impact on sales.
So given as a consumer, I am complaining, but as an investor, I'm very happy. How is the performance been in Switzerland vis-a-vis last year? And is the business expected to be the coming year business as usual, or are we looking at something substantial on the Nova side?
Switzerland, I think business, they are able to get trading business, trading to a substantial extent. This, because we are having a custom bonded warehouse, it has become easy on the logistics and on the taxation aspect also. So we can expect a little more betterment in the, going ahead on a continuous basis, a betterment in the Switzerland business.
Okay. That's it from my side. Thanks a lot, and congratulations on a good set of results.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Jay Mora, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Opportunity. Just a couple of questions. So, I mean, like, when can we actually attain, a good scale on the Indian branded business? And once we achieve that, is the margin profile will be, I mean, same like as it is right now, like 25 to 30% or something like that?
Praveen?
Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Yeah, am I audible? Hello?
Yes,
Hello,
please.
Praveen?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Mr. Praveen, please.
Okay. So my question was that, when can we achieve that scale in our branded business for the Indian market? And once we, if we happen to achieve the scale, like what would be the margin profile that would look like? Will it be similar to our current, margin profile?
Praveen, are you on the call?
Mr. Praveen, please unmute your line from your side.
Sorry, my mistake. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. So what I was saying is that, considering the fact that we have achieved 150 crores last year, out of which 100 crores was branded business, in 3 years' time, it's been a reasonable scale to achieve. I think very few brands, achieve this kind of scale in such short period. So as I was telling in one of the earlier questions as well, that in a couple of years we are looking to get to around 250 crores or so, and we'll keep growing. There's no letting down our guards, no matter what turnover we achieve. And as far as margins goes, definitely as the proportion of branded business keeps growing and the strength of the brand goes, we are able to, offer lesser and lesser discounts in the market. That will definitely improve our margins from, say, 25% to go to 35% in a couple of years. That's our target. And then we'll see how to take it forward, what kind of premium and what kind of pricing we can, command in the market.
Right. And you also mentioned about the distribution network. It is currently 95,000 and you wish to scale it up to 1.5. But,
Right.
When can we achieve, is there any internal targets to, achieve that 5 lakh or 7 lakh kind of mark, which you alluded that many of the big or the major players do have. So any, color on that?
We will be, in the short period, we'll not be in a position to achieve what a brand like from Unilever or a Nestle would do, because their field force is large, their brand equity is huge. So all that plays in terms of how your and what is your reach. Considering that coffee is thankfully largely an urban phenomena, and as I was telling you, most of our reach of 95,000 is direct. Now, as the brand goes, we look forward to have a lot of indirect reach. So once the brand equity starts building, we look forward to towards the wholesale market to help us, achieve a threshold volume of, let's say, number of outlets of maybe 2 lakhs and 2,50,000. Once we achieve 2 lakh, 2,50,000, our weighted distribution will go up to 70%. I think that should be a good internal benchmark for it. So what I am looking at is weighted distribution rather than numeric distribution, because if we are there in the right outlets, I think we'll be pretty much in a good space.
Okay. Thanks a lot and all the best. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the last question. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Abhishek Navalgul for closing comments.
Yeah, hi sir. Just one last question from my side. If you could just tell us the e-commerce sales number for FY21 from our B2C business.
So e-commerce at an overall level, from the retail side, the branded side, we were approximately 5 to 7% of the total sales, which means it will be closer to 5 to 7 crores. But our exit numbers are very good. We are exiting at almost 8 to 10% of our retail sales are now coming from e-commerce. So there has been a substantial jump in the volumes from e-commerce B2C sales.
Sure. Thank you so much. So that's it from my side. So basically, I would like to thank the management for addressing all the questions, and also thanks to all the participants for joining in. Now I request Srishant sir for his closing comments, and maybe we can close that call afterwards. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Yes, thank you all for joining us on this conference call, and I hope all of you and your families are keeping safe during these difficult times, and looking forward to reconnecting again during the next quarter conference call. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Nirmal Bang Equities, that concludes this conference. We thank you all for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.